the first thing you're gonna wanna do is really make your father's heart hurt.
How? First things first, there are several thousand of you who subscribe to a basically dead channel because you watched this video after Charlie Kirk got killed. You sick bastards. Welcome.
The Olive Garden. When you're here, you're
I'm Carlos. I make videos about politics and propaganda.
Allegedly!
And here's basically everything you need to know about me. For everyone else,
Hello!
a few years ago, I disappeared from YouTube and basically all of social media. A lot of my reasons for doing that are personal. 2023 was the worst year of my life, and it is not close. But there was also a professional reason for disappearing, one that I want to talk about in this video. And I call that reason video essay creep. Don't screenshot this. Part 1. The creep is real. If you follow a lot of video essayists on YouTube, you've probably noticed that everything is getting longer. I think ContraPoints is the best example of this. A decade ago, she was publishing 20-minute videos every month or so. Then they were 30 minutes every few months, and now she disappears for a year or more to make a movie-length spectacle. Bomber Guy is another good example of this. He used to regularly release 15-minute bangers, but now he appears once in a blue moon to drop a nuclear bomb. At the start of my solo YouTube career, I was making 15-minute explainers standing in front of a neutral background. But 2 years later, I was publishing an hour-long, multi-angle green screen Frankenstein that took me like 6 months to make and that nobody even asked for. I call this phenomenon video essay creep. The longer a video essayist works on YouTube, the longer and more complex their work tends to become. This is a pretty recent development in the content creation space. When I started making videos in the 2010s, the conventional wisdom was that those videos should be as short and snappy as possible to hold people's attention while they scroll past on their Facebook feed. But I think the success of Breadtube video essayists really reshaped the YouTube landscape, pushing the market towards longer and longer deep dives. The number of 20+ minute long videos creators around the world are uploading to YouTube each month has increased from 1.3 million in 2022 to 8.5 million in 2024.
No, that's a lot!
Staring into the void.
Now, it goes without saying that this change has been great for YouTube. Longer runtimes mean people spend more time on the site, which is good for YouTube's bottom line. As the company wrote in a recent blog post, "Who knew an hour-plus video breaking down a meme's history could be so gripping?" But if you listen to how video essayists talk about the creep, you'll start to notice a very different tone. In the description for his hour-and-a-half-long Roblox video, Bomber Guy wrote, "The original plan was for this video to be out in early September, as a quicker 30 to 40 minute video to save off the burnout from longer videos. But then all of this happened. I can't hide from long videos, they find me." ContraPoints described a similar feeling in a recent interview.
Why do you work in such a long form? How did you choose that form to work in?
Well, I feel less like I chose it than it sort of creeped up on me. When I started, it was 10-minute videos at least once a month. And then I guess it's called scope creep. I found that I had more to say about certain topics and I wanted to get deeper. That took more time, and I felt like the production had to be bigger to justify the amount of time it was taking. And then next thing you know, you're uploading 2-hour YouTube videos that have 6 different sets and 7 different costumes. So yeah, it just kind of happened to me.
Every time I started a new video, I promised myself that I would keep it short and simple. And every time I found myself awake at 4 in the morning on the verge of tears, editing a monstrosity that was way bigger and more complicated than it needed to be. I can't hide from the long videos. They find me. So what is going on here? Why can't video essayists resist the call of the creep? Part 2. The creep is capitalism. Videos are getting longer because longer videos make more money. The longer the video, the more ad breaks. And the more ad breaks, the more revenue that goes to the creator. That is the simple, knee-jerk explanation that people throw around to explain video essay creep. And look, maybe some creators think like that, but I highly doubt most video essayists are thinking, let me do another 50 hours of work to make a few more pennies off of a Daily Wire ad. I never even monetized my videos, and I still felt the creep. So that explanation doesn't really work. A more accurate way of putting it is that longer videos are better at building a loyal audience. If you've ever watched a YouTuber spend hours spinning out about a niche topic, you probably found yourself feeling a little endeared to them. For me, Jenny Nicholson is the perfect example of this. I don't actually know Jenny as a person. I think I sat across the table from her at a Ruby Tuesdays in Times Square many years ago. Long story. But every time I rewatch her 4-hour Evermore video, I find myself having this weird feeling of like, I just like you little weirdo. We're humans. We're social creatures. So the more time we spend with someone, the more likely we are to start thinking of them as a friend, or at least someone we recognize enough to want to see again. A recent podcast study found that parasocial relationships were associated with listening for longer and listening to podcasts by known hosts. The more you listen, the more you socially engage and feel like the favorite host is a friend. The same is true for YouTubers. I never got fan mail when I was making my 6-minute Vox explainers. But once I started publishing hour-long video essays of me crying about hopelessness or spinning out over critical race theory, people treated me very differently. You little content pigs. People felt like they knew me. And that made them more likely to want to support me and toss a few dollars my way. So if you're a YouTuber trying to make a living, longer videos are just better investments. They're better at creating parasocial bonds, which makes them easier to monetize. Capitalism. But that's not it either. I live in here, okay? And I know that creating parasocial bonds was not a part of my script writing process. If I wanted to bombard you with hours of content to trick you into thinking that you and I are friends, I would have become a streamer.
I would die. I would die.
But the creep made me do the opposite, disappearing for months at a time to work on increasingly massive videos while my patrons asked, where the hell did you go? But I just couldn't stop myself. I couldn't stop the videos from getting longer and longer because ultimately, the creep isn't capitalism. Part 3. The creep is me. Everything I'm about to say is just based on my experience. I have not talked to other YouTubers about this. Maybe I'm alone. People tend to assume that the worst part about being a YouTuber is the negative comments, the harassment, the bullying. And to be clear, that does suck and is YouTube's fault. But to be honest, the mean comments never really messed with my head. I was an obese, openly gay debate captain at an all-boy Catholic high school, okay? There's nothing you can say to me that I don't already have tattooed on my back. I know I'm a queer failure. I like being a queer failure. Some of my best friends are queer failures. As gross and annoying as they may be, the mean comments have always been kind of easy to compartmentalize and ignore. What's harder to ignore are the really nice comments. People telling you they like you and want more of you. That shit will break your brain. See, before I became a solo YouTuber, I used to work in a traditional newsroom with an editor and a boss. People I knew in real life who would tell me if I was meeting my goals or falling behind. They were my audience. So I wasn't super concerned with what random people on the internet were thinking about me. Obviously, I read the comments and stuff, but making YouTube commenters happy wasn't really my job. My job was to not get fired. And that meant that the noise of random people on the internet never really got to me. But when you become a solo content creator, that random internet noise is kind of the only feedback you have. So I went from trying to please a handful of coworkers I knew and trusted to trying to please an endless sea of anonymous people on the internet. People whose tastes and expectations I couldn't actually predict. That's a lot more pressure. And for a while, that pressure was actually good for me. Without a clear sense of what people wanted from me, I had to become a lot more creative. I started incorporating skits and characters. I taught myself new editing techniques, made more complex and research-heavy arguments. I call this the creep curve, when the pressure to build and maintain an audience initially forces YouTubers to gain new skills and experiment with new formats. And I could see those efforts paying off. By all measures, I was a decently successful YouTuber. I mean, look at this plaque. Does anybody want this plaque? But the problem with trying to please people on the internet is that pleasing people on the internet is not actually a goal you can ever really achieve. There's no employee review where someone tells you if you hit your KPIs or not. No boss telling you you've done a good job and should take your vacation time. No commenter ever says, I like this, but you don't need to keep pushing yourself so hard. On YouTube, the best feedback you can hope for is, we want more. And that feedback starts to feel real bad real quick. I feel like as a YouTuber, you want the views to go up, but the more it kept happening, the more I felt like people had higher expectations for each video. People are nice, which is good, but then you're like, my next one has to be as good, or my next one has to be better. People really liked when I introduced alter egos into my videos, But then I felt this pressure, like, do I have to do alter egos in every video? Will people stop watching if I don't? People really enjoyed the music video at the end of that Charlie Kirk did. It's probably why I did so well. But then I felt this pressure. That video took forever to make. Is that the expectation now? You can't keep getting better infinitely. There's a ceiling in your abilities. And once you hit that ceiling, your only option is to go longer. More research, more jokes, more skits. The more complex the video gets, the longer it takes to make. And the longer they take, the more you feel the pressure.
That took more time, and I felt like the production had to be bigger to justify the amount of time it was taking.
The last video I was working on before I disappeared was supposed to be a 30-minute explainer on Elon Musk. But by the time I quit, it had become a 2-hour movie where me and my alter egos hijacked a Tesla press conference and then fought Elon Musk in a Final Fantasy style boss battle sequence that went on forever.
It's not realistic. It's just not realistic.
And I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, damn, that sounds sick as hell. I wish you would have made it. And I agree with you. It would have been cool. I wish I had made it. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's always more, more, more. You did this to me. Part 4, the creep is you. Kidding, kidding. It's not. It's not. I could have made that 2-hour Elon video. That's the killer. You can always do a little more. Add one more skit, write one more joke, go down one more rabbit hole. The creep never feels like the creep when it's happening to you. It just feels like giving it your best. Eventually, the same pressure that pushes someone to become a better creator becomes this bar that's increasingly impossible to get over. I am super proud of the really long videos I made, but when I think back about the process of making them, horrible. Nights when I could not sleep because I felt so behind.
Horrible.
Hours and hours of shooting at 4 a.m. while running lights and camera and sound.
Horrible.
Being on the verge of tears while editing because my shitty laptop literally could not handle the size of the project I was working on. Eventually, it got to a point where even publishing wouldn't make me feel better because I knew it wasn't my best work. Knew there was going to be some editing mistake or a sound issue that I just couldn't fix because if I had to watch the video one more time, I was gonna lose my mind.
Okay, so you have like psychological problems.
Speaking of which, it goes without saying that some of this has to do with my own mental health issues. I am someone who struggles with perfectionism, and looking back, it's clear that I was getting dog walked by my unmedicated OCD. The creep is harder to resist if you have underlying mental health issues. And I'm guessing that a lot of the people who make hours-long videos about niche topics on YouTube have underlying mental health issues. But this is not just a mental health thing. I called this section The Creep Is Me to be funny, but I know the creep is not just me. A recent survey of independent YouTubers found that they are not doing well, disproportionately suffering from things like anxiety and depression. If you look at the specific reasons why, anxiety about finances, obsession with performance, and burnout. It's the creep. And the longer the creep goes on, the worse it gets. While 11% of creators with less than 2 years of experience rate their mental health as excellent, this figure drops to just 4% among those with 8 or more years in the field. So, in the middle of month 6 of making the Elon Nega video, I just stopped. I got a regular nonprofit job, got super into gardening. I started learning ASL so I could sign things like civilian life has been nice. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss making stuff. I really like making stuff. And when I wasn't constantly spinning out about having to one-up myself, I think I was pretty good at it.
No.
So, the question that's been haunting me for the past few years. Part 4. Can you beat the creep? A lot has changed the last time I tried this. I'm a better editor, I have a better support system, I am therapized and medicated. I also think I'm just in a much better headspace than when I first went solo. In 2020, I was convinced that I needed to live up to this stupid New York Times article. Convinced that I had to become this YouTube star to show everyone that I was okay after losing my job at Vox. You guys remember Vox? Now it feels less serious. So a big part of me wants to end the video by telling you, don't worry, the creep is vanquished, it will never happen again. But if I'm being honest with you, I'm pretty sure that it will. No matter how mentally sturdy I may be, I think the relationship that YouTube demands between creators and their audience is just really unnatural. Our brains are just not designed to handle this much anonymous feedback, positive or negative. I know the second I start reading the comments, I'm gonna hear the voice in my head saying, so instead of promising that I could ignore it, I want to try being transparent. I'm going back to making old school, simple explainer videos with less of a focus on production and more of a focus on just making a clean argument that I'm happy with.
There will be no fakeness and no gayness.
I'm not making these videos to trick you into thinking we're friends or to become the best YouTuber in the world. I'm making these videos because I want to write a book, a thing I can finish. And making these small videos will help me break down that book into small, bite-sized research chunks. They may also help me get a book deal or a book agent. Turns out if you're a YouTuber trying to write a book, you basically have to publish the book as a video first before anyone pays you money to write it. It's very cool. Part 5, the creep is still capital. If you want to support me, you can back me on Patreon or buy my merch or book me to speak at your academic institution. I will really appreciate any of it, but hopefully not so much that I become obsessed with never letting you down. New video in like a month, because that's all videos should take. Allegedly! Wish me luck. Okay, bye.